I'm TJ Hoy. I'm the CDC here at Gage Tollner. And today I'm going to show you how I make our perfect Beef Wellington. Gage Tollner is a historic restaurant in the heart of downtown Brooklyn. Beef Wellington is one of those dishes that are really special to us. It's a holiday tradition, but we celebrate it all year round. Our perfect Beef Wellington. It's beautiful layers of pâté brie, house-cured bacon, mushroom duxelles, cream Swiss chard, mustard, and a nice prime filet mignon all wrapped into this beautiful dough. Each component you got to make separately. It's really a labor of love. It was created for the kings and the dukes. It may seem pretty intimidating to make, but really what it boils down to is you're making a really big, delicious Hot Pocket. To kick it off, we're going to start with the beef. The beef that we're using today is a 10-ounce cut of prime filet mignon. Nicely marbled, but not overly fatty. An overly fatty cut, like a ribeye, a New York strip, all that fat, while it's in the oven, is going to render out and make your dough soggy. Our end result is going to be a crispy, nice, crusty dough wrapped over the filet mignon. So every component today, we just got to keep in mind that moisture is our enemy. So you want to use a leaner cut. Beef Wellington, usually it's a nice big piece that feeds 6 to 8 to 10, but we do it so that it's for 1 to 2 people. We're doing a really simple seasoning here. A nice sea salt, kosher salt. I like more of the coarse crystals. It takes a little bit longer to dissolve. Not too high, but nice and high so we get an even coating. Top to bottom, to back to front. Fresh ground black pepper. Same thing with the salt. And you want to just kind of get a nice little coat. Cover all sides, and then we're just gonna let it sit for 5 minutes while we get our pan hot. I'm just gonna add a little oil to coat the bottom of the pan. Let the oil heat up. Takes a couple minutes. Biggest mistakes that people make is not getting the pan hot enough to create that initial crust. You wanna use a neutral oil that has a high smoking point. I use a sunflower oil. See it kind of starting to smoke a little bit, then you know you're ready to go. You just take your piece of meat and you start with one side. Give it a nice little push down and just let it rest there for a while. If you look around the bottom edges here, you see that Maillard reaction starting. So nice and brown. Also, it's going to be kind of loose on the pan. But once you see that brown starting to happen on the bottom, you know you're just about there. We're going to be doing this over and over again today. Season, cook, and cool. Season, cook, and cool. Just to get that final product that we need. You got a nice little crust there. It's still a little brown in the middle. So I'm going to leave it there for another minute. One of the biggest mistakes that people make is not letting it sit long enough to get that nice sear. You want to let it sit there. You're not going to hurt it. So this is just about perfect, maybe a little bit over. Each side's going to get quicker. The first side takes the longest. So I seared it on all the sides. We have a nice golden brown all the way around. From there, we're going to pop it in the cooler. It's all about the rhythm, season, cook, and cool. Beef is all ready to go. So now we're going to move on to the mushrooms. Duxelle is that French fancy term for mushroom paste. Classic duxelle, it's usually cremini mushrooms chopped up really fine, sweated out with some shallots, a little white wine, maybe some herbs. We do a little bit of a spin on it. So along with the shallots, we add some finely chopped leeks, a little bit of garlic, and a parsnip for a little bit of sweetness. We have beautiful maitake mushrooms, beach mushrooms or mansamijis, king trumpets, and then your good old button mushroom or cremini mushroom. I've taken all these ingredients already and I've put them all separately through a food processor to get them as small as possible. So now we're gonna go get it on the stove. We're gonna add a splash of neutral oil, and then I'm gonna add a little bit of butter. The oil has a higher smoking point. Combining the two, you're gonna give the butter a higher smoking point. First, finely chopped shallots. We want to get these into the pan evenly as possible. Shallots add a onion flavor plus a little bit of sweetness to the mushrooms. We don't want to get any color on it, so you want to adjust the heat. And while that's about halfway done, we're going to add our finely chopped leeks. This is adding more of a fresh onion element. Chopped garlic. It's not traditional, but come on, who doesn't love garlic? This smells delicious right now. Next, we're gonna add parsnips, which adds a nice level of sweetness to this dish. So you wanna get that sweated out a little bit. And then we're gonna add our mushrooms, the star of the show here. I'm sweating this out a little bit, and you can see that it's starting to get dry because the fond is starting to build up on the bottom of the pan. Fond is the natural sugars adhering to the bottom of the pan. For this, we wanna add a little bit of white wine to deglaze the bottom of the pan. I know we're trying to pull out the moisture, but adding a little moisture is going to create more of a richness and a more depth of flavor. I also like to throw a couple bay leaves in just to give that extra layer of flavor and a little more sweetness to it. It's probably going to take about like 10, 15 minutes to get to that consistency that you want. We are just about there. It's starting to stick to the bottom of the pan again. That means we're almost out of all our moisture. And we are going to transfer it to a separate container so it could cool. The colder you keep everything, the better it's going to come out. Having everything too warm will make the dough melt and you'll get a thin dough that doesn't puff. So we're going to get this in the cooler and then we're on to the Swiss chard. This is not a traditional addition to a Wellington. Most Wellingtons will have a fatty pâté element to it, either like foie gras or like a chicken liver. This is our play on that fat element. So we're gonna start with our fat in the bottom of the pan. Let that heat up a little bit. Over like a medium low heat, we're gonna add some of our butter for extra flavor and a little more fattiness. And we're gonna get that melted in the oil here. Once that butter is all melted in that pan, we're gonna add our thinly sliced onions. So I get that a nice even layer. So we're sweating, not sauteing. Sweating is pulling the moisture out and making them tender. Again, over a medium heat so we don't burn it. So when we're about halfway sweated out with these onions, we're gonna add our sliced garlic. Season as you go. The salt helps to draw the moisture out of the onions and garlic. Next, our Swiss chard. Swiss chard is a hearty, leafy green. We leave it on the stem. We just trim the ends. We give it a nice blanch in salted boiling water and then dunk it into an ice bath to cool it down and retain that color. We use a rainbow Swiss chard. So there's the reds and the yellows. There's still going to be a little bit of moisture in there, but the heat in this pan is what's going to have that evaporate. Next, I'm going to add a mixture of mustards. Here I have 3/4 part Dijon to 1/4 part whole grain mustard. I'm going to add all this to it. I'm going to add a little bit of white wine also. You see it almost immediately evaporated out of the pot, still dry on the bottom. And then we're adding our bechamel, a mixture of a roux and scalded milk. That's basically our fat that we're adding to this mixture. We're not looking to really cook this anymore. We're just looking to warm it up so that it all could get incorporated. Traditionally in a beef Wellington, mustard is used as a flavor component. We use the two different types because the Dijon has that spicy bite to it and the whole grain has that more mustardy, dull bite with a little bit of crunch from the seeds. So I'm going to stop right there because I don't want to really cook everything. We're going to get this out of the pan. We're going to get it cool so we can get on to the next step. Every Wellington usually has some kind of salty, umami, meaty element to it. Usually you find it like with prosciutto. We wanted to put our own little Gage Tollner spin on it. So we do our thin sliced house smoked and cured bacon. The bacon adds that saltiness, that umami with a little bit of smoke. You really want as thin as humanly possible. We're just gonna take nice small chunks to wrap around our filet mignon. Bacon's all sliced and we are ready for assembly. All our products are cooked, cooled, seasoned, and ready to put together. For our pastry layer, we use a pâté brie, which is a form of short crust. At home, you're most likely gonna use a puff pastry. Puff pastry just is made a little bit more delicately and laminated, so it has more layers and it's a little more fluffy. A pâté brie is more of a pie crust, so very similar in flavor. This is already cut to the size that we need. All my ingredients are all right out of the fridge, very cold. We're gonna start with our bacon layer. We wanna take our bacon and cut it down to size if it's too big. We want it to come maybe a 1/2 inch from the edges so that it's not falling out of the dough after we roll it. We have our nice layer of bacon. It's going to be rotated over and flipped up, so that's going to be the top. We lay the bacon down first to create a barrier between the dough and our creamy Swiss chard. Put a nice amount evenly spread so that we cover most of it, but not all the way to the edges. Our Swiss chard is the most wet, so we want to create a barrier in between the dough and all the other components. And now we're going to go into our mushroom duxelles and then spread that over the Swiss chard. in a nice even layer. And then we move on to our fillet of beef, and we want to take our mustard mixture and we just want to kind of spread it all over that meat just so that we have even flavor throughout. We have a little bit of mustard in the Swiss char, but this is where we're getting most of our mustard flavor from. Now we're going to wrap it. So this can tear, so you just want to be really careful. So we're going to go from closest to you as far over as you can while keeping it tight to the meat. And then we're going to come the far away over to the top to overlap them just a little bit. You don't want too much extra dough, and then just seal that off with your finger. The heat from your finger will bind it together. And then we're gonna flip it over, tuck in the edges, but make sure you go down so you don't have your seal up. And then we're gonna spin that around, because I like to do everything to my right, and do that on the same side. We're gonna come up, over, and back down. There's no holes, no cracks. Looks like everything's pretty much sealed. If you see anything, you can pinch it together a little bit. Remember, you gotta work quickly so that it doesn't warm up and it stays in an even form. But we're not done yet. We have to go that little bit extra. We decided on the lattice, it's very classic. We have this cool little lattice cutter that's multiple of wheels with sections that cut and don't cut. So we're gonna carefully press it all the way through while pressing down. And that creates our lattice design. And we're just gonna take that and then we're gonna put this right over the top as even as possible so that it covers halfway down on both sides. And we're just gonna give it a little bit of a press to seal it. And here we have our assembled Wellington. This has to chill for a while, so we're gonna get this in the cooler. Once that's done chilling, we're gonna make an egg wash and get it cooking. Now we have our assembled, ready, and chilled Wellington. You have your baking sheet, and you just wanna get a little bit of fat or oil on the bottom of it. We're gonna make an egg wash to go over the top to get that nice, even brown crust all around. You wanna make sure that there are no strands left in the egg. I like to add a tad bit of water just to loosen it up so it spreads a little bit better. And so here, it's a nice liquid form. You're not seeing any strands holding together from the egg at all. Take our pastry brush and we will brush all parts of it. Every side, all the way down to the bottom. My oven is preheating to 400 degrees. After we get that all egg washed, we're gonna get this straight into the oven. As you might be thinking, how do you check the temperature on the inside? We have it down to a science of how long it needs to be in the oven at a certain temperature. But at home, probe thermometer that comes out of your oven and displays the internal temperature on the outside is probably your way to go. I would go from one of the ends and stick it straight in and put the crust around it so that there's no air holes for things to escape and evaporate. And you just leave it in there until it's completely done and completely cool. And then right before slicing it, you can pull it out. All right, let's do it. We're at our 20-minute timer and we're gonna get it out of the oven and let it sit and rest for about 10 minutes. The resting period is very important for when you're slicing into it, that it doesn't bleed out everywhere. The resting is going to help it finish cooking, plus redistribute the juices throughout the filet mignon. We're gonna take our nice mashed potatoes and we're gonna do a nice little bed for it to sit in. We top that with fine herbs, chives, parsley, tarragon, and chervil. It just gives that a little bit extra brightness and freshness to the dish. Find the center, and you wanna do a nice little slicing motion, pressing very softly. You're gonna get a little bit of crumble. We just take our spatula, we get it into the bed of mashed potatoes. It's a really nice pairing to go along with the red wine demi and the Wellington. And there you have it. By looking at it, you can see all your layers, the crust, nice flaky golden brown. I'm really excited about this. I get the earthiness of the mushrooms. I get a little bit of smokiness of the bacon, get that nice buttery, crispy crust, and the beautiful meatiness of the filet with a hint of mustard, and it all just kind of balances itself. This is perfect. Just remember with a Wellington, you really want to focus on temperature and moisture. For temperature, everything needs to be cooled down to refrigerator temperature before assembling. With the moisture of everything, you want to keep it as dry as possible. because that dough is just gonna get all soggy. Don't be intimidated by Beef Wellington. It is worth the effort. It's worth the time. Whether it's during the holidays or any time of the year, it's just a fun little creative project to make at home.